Today I'm going to be talking about building and managing connected and disconnected office and field applications for Esri web mapping technology, utilizing the Geocortex and OneIntegrate for ArcGIS software sets. Easy to use, targeted viewers that work on virtually any device elegantly. Surely that must be the goal of every organization seeking to deploy GIS applications across the enterprise for multiple users accessing multiple applications. The problem is these days that there are numerous browsers out there, numerous browsers to support, and their use can vary tremendously across an organization, and yet everybody wants to have the same user experience. Here at OneSpatial, we recommend the use of Geocortex, the multi-platform, easy-to-use web-based GIS, combined with our own fit-and-forget business rules technology. Our business rules technology has been developed over a number of years and has rapid deployment both in validation and fixing up your data in the background, trouble-free. Combining OneSpatial's OneIntegrate for ArcGIS to provide data validation on the fly with the power of Geocortex truly gives you a unique offering, providing the flexibility to capture data in the field to a very high standard, easily and efficiently. Using the Geocortex and OneIntegrate ArcGIS software helps you do more, faster, at less cost and risk, with better results. Configuring the application capabilities, features, tools and widgets, you need an out-of-the-box, unified, cohesive user experience. This is something that Geocortex Essentials excels at. Providing the back-end data compliance is where the OneIntegrate excels with its powerful business rules engine. Combined, the two provide a compelling environment for your users to have hassle-free data capture and update. As well as working online, mobile users working in the field can work disconnected, offline or online, allowing data edits and other changes to be synchronized when they're back online or when they choose. Okay, so that's enough talking. Let's have a demonstration of Geocortex and OneIntegrate for ArcGIS in action. So here I've got the Geocortex Essentials Manager interface, which has got a number of sites on here, as you can see, and I've got a mobile data site here. Within my mobile data site, I'm allowed to do a number of configurations. So I can set things like layer themes, I can set base maps for my data and so on and so forth. But perhaps the most interesting is viewers and the viewer technology. Currently we have a viewer set here, which I'm going to use in a minute for the demonstration, but what I'll do to begin with is I'll just create a new viewer. So I'm going to create a new viewer from scratch, and I'll call it Webinar, and I'm going to add this viewer to my site. When I add this viewer to my site, you'll see that I get a panel down the left-hand side that allows me to configure parts of the viewer to suit my needs. So I can configure the look and feel of the viewer. Now what you'll see here is that we've got desktop, tablet and handheld. Now we can configure those together or we can configure them individually, and you'll see in the viewer that I've configured in a moment that I've been doing some configuration individually. We also have an I want to menu where you can add simple to use options that the users want to do all the time. You can change map settings, so we might want to add British National Grid in here. You can add map widgets, so whether the scale box is open by default, whether map coordinates are open by default, and so on and so forth. And of course what you can do is you can have geolocation enabled. So if you've got a geolocation enabled device, then it can find you, it can track you, it can follow you. We have the offline capabilities here. And what we do, we publish this viewer to an offline set, and then on your offline device you can take that viewer and use it. In order to use the data offline, you need to create tile packs for your background information, and you need to serve up your data you wish to edit as feature services from ArcGIS. We also have a toolbar. Now this toolbar is very rich, as you can see down the left-hand side here. And you can add any of these tools to the toolbar. You can name anything, you can change the icons of anything, you can create your own tabs, you can create your menu, your toolbar to suit your client's needs. And you've noticed that I've added another viewer to my site, which means you can have more than one viewer attached to a site. So you can have a viewer that perhaps read-only users have, which might allow them to find an address and print a map area. And then you might have a viewer that's very complex and allows people in the office to do full web editing. And what you can do is you can configure these individually, so your tablet and your handheld will look different as things go along. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to create a compact toolbar for my tablet here, and I'll leave my desktop. I'll leave my desktop as a tabbed toolbar, and I'll add a couple of these tabs in, just drop them in here so we can see what's happening. And I'll drop in edit features maybe. This is just to show you how you can configure with ease. And we might want to say, well, we don't want our users to be able to export, so I'm going to remove the export option from here. So again, I'm just configuring, clicking on buttons and editing. And then I save my site. If I go back to my viewer info here, we've got some shells that we can show you what things will look like. So if I click on my desktop, this is a preview of what a desktop might look like. The logo in the middle, that's definable on a per site access. So you can see here we've got our scale bar here, we've got our map units here, we've got our tools here, and they come out in tabs. And you can see that we've removed the export function. I've also got a tablet version. So my tablet version looks like this. And what you'll notice about my tablet version is the tools come out as a slide out, as a compact toolbar here. And you can define how many tools are shown here. And again, you can add a remove tool. So you can really tailor your user experience to the device that you're going to be using. So this is what it would look like on, say, an iPhone or an Android phone. So that's what it all looks like in theory. So let's have a look at the other viewer that I've spent a bit of time configuring. So if I click on this viewer here, so this is me using it in the desktop mode. And you'll see we've got a bar at the top here. I've got a search box. I've got my tools here. I've got my want-to menu. You can see that I've got my British National Grid and the coordinates down here, so they track my position. I've got scales here. So if I wanted to draw at 1 to 1250 scale, for example, and I hit go, the data zooms out to 1 to 1250 scale. So we can see that we've got some sort of powerful tools out of the box. I've done not a lot of configuration here. We've also got a layers list, so we know what each of the objects are, and if I expand each one, we can do things like create a feature in that layer, turn on and off layer visualizations, and so on and so forth. I can query options, so if I go to my tools here, I can select features within a given area. It'll return that I've got 2 inferred sewer pipes, 11 sewer associations. I've got 11 inferred sewer pipes, inferred sewer nodes, and I've got some manholes. And if I click on one of these, you can see the details about the manholes, and you can configure what's shown. And if you look on the right, or on the map detail here, you can see that the 4 manholes are highlighted in yellow, and as I hover over each manhole, it highlights again in blue. I can also display these in a table view at the bottom. So here's all my information in the table view from my selection. So again, it's very simple. I didn't have to do any configuration for this. It's all out of the box stuff. So what I want to do now is to show you how we might do some editing. So I might be out in the field with my desktop device here. Excuse me, I made a bit of a, there we go, just get rid of that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new feature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an inferred service connection from a house to a pipe. So let's say we're here, look. So this is me working in the office maybe. So I might go to create features, create a new feature, and I might want to create an inferred service association. So we can click on the inferred service association, and then I can digitize a line. So I can digitize between the house and the pipe. So, so if I now zoom in, you can see in true Chris Wright style, I've made a bit of a mess of the digitizing, but not to worry, because if you remember what I was talking about, we've got our one integrate for ArcGIS business rules in the background that will sort all this out for me. On the left-hand side, you can see we've got all the attributes that we would need to fill out for this particular object. When we're happy with the object, we can hit save. When we hit save, the object is now passed back to the ArcGIS server side. Prior to going into the database, we intercept the object and we run our business rules against that object. And what we've said for these business rules is that the inferred sewer connection should snap to the house and have a node there, and it should also snap to the sewer pipe and have a node there. So if I refresh my screen, what you can see indeed that it has snapped to the sewer pipe and it's snapped to the house, and it's got rid of my dodgy digitizing. So you can build these business rules to suit whatever you want. For example, if you were capturing addresses, you might want to put the address point in the center of the house. So rather than having to find the center of the house really accurately, you just click inside the polygon, and then as a part of a business rule, we can move it to the center of the house or to the frontage of the house, depending on what you need. And we could optionally, if we had road center lines, we could optionally create a point on that road center line as a starting point for, say, a TomTom system or something like that for navigation systems. But what about when we're out in the field? Well, let's have a look here. I'm just gonna, I've got a little device here that I'm gonna look at in a moment. So I'll just log into it. I've got an iPad here, and I'll log into my iPad. And I've got a piece of software here that allows me to connect to my iPad. Here we go, there we are. So there's my iPad. If I refresh my viewer, the first thing you'll notice, we've got the same splash screen, so we're looking in the same common format. You'll notice that I haven't got the title bar up here. I've removed it so I've got more real estate for my map. What I've also done is I've added the tools as a compact toolbar. So when I click on the tools menu here, you'll see that it pops out from the side. And what I've got here is I've got 6 options that I'm using. So if I wanted to use the iPad to capture an object, let's go capture this one here. So in the same street that we were working in. So I might go Tools, Add Features. And you'll notice that the panel that pops out on the left-hand side is also configured to be slightly slimmer. Again, this is so that we have more real estate that we're working on, more map area. So I'm going to create an inferred sewer association. So I tap on that with my finger, and then it says, right, go and create an object on the map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to digitize an object from this house to there, to the sewer pipe. And you can see with my fat fingers, once again, I've not been able to digitize it very accurately. But again, I can just scroll down and I can save my object, and the object goes across the airwaves, gets intercepted by our business rules engine, and then will be created with its corrected data when we get there. There we go. So you can see that it's snapped back and connected to both the pipe and to the house. And again, the sorts of things we can do with the business rules is we can add inferred data. So we know if we know from the house age, we can then infer the sort of pipe that we might use for a connector or might have been used for a connector. If we know the house age, we can again look at the type of depth of the pipe and where it might connect into the house. We can also assign things like the owner's address or the owner's name so that we know who's responsible for that piece of pipe. And it's really down to you for you to decide what you want to do in terms of adding those default attributes at time of capture. These business rules can also be used on your desktop, as you saw me using earlier. So the same sets of business rules can be used throughout, giving you consistent data in an easy to use, comfortable environment. So, to wrap up, what we've shown you is the ability to create and deploy an application quickly and seamlessly. And in this ever-changing world, it's really important to do that, to respond to any incidents that you might have, a flooding incident or so on and so forth. You can customize your solutions to fit for your purpose for any type of user, from the novice to the highly skilled. One of the things we are doing here at OneSpatial at the moment is we're offering a free sample data audit, and you can go to our website and you can log in on the URL that you can see on the screen there, and you can submit us a sample set of your data, and we'll run our business rules on it, and we'll come back with a validation report. We won't change any of the data, we'll just give you a validation report on things like the structure of the data, whether there's any missing attributes or the attributes are null, whether there's kickbacks, spikes, or so on and so forth in your data. And with that, I'd like to throw open the floor and ask if you have any questions. Okay, I've got a question come in that says, how do you take the data offline? Well, as I mentioned earlier, what you would do is you would create a tile pack in ArcGIS which would represent your background mapping. And you can sort of get away with about 10 tile packs for the whole of the UK. And then what you would also do is create some feature services for your foreground data. And when you left the office in the morning, you would just window an area of data that you wanted to take out with you. And then I've got another question, can it be secured? Yes, you can secure against a number of different security services. You could use your AD within your organization, right down to Geocortex that has its own security software, and you can create users and roles within that. And then within the data inside the site, if I go back to my site here, what you can actually do is inside the permissions, you can secure against any part of the viewer so that people can inherit, see, or don't see. And if you've exposed attributes on your data, you can also secure down to attribute level. I've got another question which says, is there a user limit? I guess the answer to that is the user limit depends on the sort of server you're putting it on, because obviously what it's got to do is render these maps. You don't have a physical license that restricts you from the number of users. It's really just the size and power of the server that you put the software on that will restrict what you can and can't do. So are there any other questions? Okay, so thank you for your time today. Keep an eye open for some more webinars that are coming out in the future, both around just our Geocortex software and just our OneIntegrate software and our FME products as well. Again, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.